This episode of Comics for Fun and Profit is brought to you by the Comic Book Page Preview Spotlight, episode 200. The Preview Spotlight is a crowdsourced podcast. So that's where you came in. We want you to be a part of this. Be a part of the 200th episode. Anybody can submit something. All you have to do, leaf through your favorite previews catalog, your July catalogs for September as they come out. You can find them online already. So as they come out, we want you to submit a clip on just one of your favorite things. You can submit as many as you want, but we just want one at least. A minimum of one, obviously. Pick something that you're passionate about, one of your favorite items, something new that you're excited about. Take your phone, use the voice memo, record a short clip. Don't forget to include your name, the catalog, the page number, so people listening can follow along at home. Email it to John at theguys@comicbookpage.com. It's that simple. A short clip, send it to John at theguys, THEGUYS, @comicbookpage.com. You can find out more. You can go to comicbookpage.com and find the forum with that post and learn all about it as well. It's fun to do. It's fun to hear your clip. It's fun to hear a variety of voices. The best episodes are when tons of people participate. The deadline is July 13th. I would encourage you to do this for the 200th episode and continue. It's fun, positive, exciting thing about our industry to celebrate some of the cool things that we're excited about. Looking forward to reading. Thanks for your patience, and I hope you all participate in the 200th episode of the Preview Spotlight.
Aloha! It's Jason from Hawaii. Welcome to a special edition of the Comics for Fun and Profit podcast. In this episode, I will be interviewing a friend of the podcast, comic book creator, podcaster, and Bram Stoker Award winner, Soo Lee. Sue, welcome back to the Comics for Fun and Profit podcast. How are you doing today?
Good. Thank you so much for having me on again. It was so fun last time. And I got to get used to that the award-winning part of my bio now, which is like it's very cool, but still feels very weird when I hear it or say it.
But like I said, it's listeners, we're going to talk about that in a little bit, but I have to say that was so awesome. So, but I'm going to hold that off because I want to, and I'll tell you how I saw, and how you promote it, how you mentioned it on Twitter, but that was so cool. So, okay, she is here to promote her latest work, Carmilla, the Last Vampire Hunter from Dark Horse Comics. Now, this original graphic novel comes out on July 10th. Now, also too, her and Amy Chu also worked on the first volume of Carmilla, the First Vampire. We'll talk about that in a little bit. We're also going to be promoting ThunderCats Cheetara #1 from Dynamite Comics that comes out on July 30th. And she will be at San Diego Comic-Con this year from July 25th to July 28th. So, Sue, we at the Comics for Fun and Profit podcast have designated July 2024 as Soo Lee month.
Oh gosh, no.
Because your two books are coming out in July. This is the first time you're gonna be in San Diego Comic-Con. I just think that's so cool. And I know this is gonna sound a little corny, but I'm just gonna say I'm so happy for you. How it's like you have a lot of books coming out. Listeners, we're gonna, there's so much that I want to talk to Sue about in this episode. I just want to focus on her upcoming works, and if we have some time, I also want to talk about one of her recent works from last year, Disney villain Maleficent, the miniseries that she wrote and drew for Dynamite Comics. That's if we have time, but if not, it's already out in trade. Please go pick up a copy if you guys get a chance. Now, also, for me to prepare for this interview, I got some information from the Freak Sugar website article titled "Interview Soo Lee on Examining the Heroic Cheetara in the new ThunderCats miniseries. Now, this article was written by Jed W. Keith, and it was dated on May 23rd, 2024. If you guys get a chance, please check out that article. All right. Sue, where can listeners follow you on social media?
Soo Lee draws on Instagram and Sue D. Lee on Twitter.
Okay. Now, Carmilla, the first vampire. Listeners, before we start talking about Carmilla, the last vampire hunter, I want to have Sue, briefly talk about, what the first graphic novel was about, who the main character is, and we're going to talk a little bit more about her and Amy getting an award for this graphic novel. Now, Sue, before I start asking you questions, Chip Zdarsky praised this, and he quoted, Carmilla is an itch in the back of your head, the horror of knowing something right behind you, whether it be a creature, a nightmare, or a terrible love. Amy Chu and Soo Lee weaved a beautiful tale full of mystery in an unsettling New York. I highly recommend it. So, listeners, I've read the first volume. It's very good. I love it. I really do. And there's one character I love, and we will talk about that a little bit probably in a couple shortly. So, Sue, I'm going to start off. What is the story about Carmilla, the last vampire hunter?
It's the volume, the following up of the first volume, the volume 2 of following up on it. And basically, I don't want to get into it, but a lot has happened. We're going into the future now, quite literally. Not far into the future, but we're ahead of time now.
Oh, okay.
And a new character is introduced. Actually, a few new characters are introduced.
Oh, okay.
And it's about somebody else's journey. See, it's very vague, but without spoiling anything. It really is a new adventure.
Okay, so I'm sorry. So we're talking about
with the old cast as well, but it is a new thing.
Okay, so I'm just trying to clarify. So what you mentioned is you're talking about the current the original graphic novel that's going to come out in July. Is that the one? There's a new adventure and there's a time jump.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Okay, all right. So I'm sorry, but I want to talk a little bit about the first volume.
Oh, gotcha.
Sorry, I'm sorry. Yeah,
No
sorry
worries.
about. So I just want to talk a little bit about just to have listeners, find out like what's the story about Carmilla, who is Athena Lo, in the first volume. Like where was she at? Because I know the story was set in the 90s. That one was set in the 90s.
Yeah, it's about a woman who's trying to figure herself out because she's
Mm-hmm.
a little bit messy,
Mm-hmm.
and trying to figure out what her motive in what she does is, and then sometimes when you spread yourself too thin, a lot of people can take advantage of you. That's
Yes.
what happens to her, and it's a really I think a unique retelling of Carmilla, the
Mm-hmm.
actual vampire, because it has that as the theme, but it's a whole new story, right? It's a
Mm-hmm.
completely different thing. Um, and I think Athena is someone who people can relate to when you're trying to find yourself a bit in life.
Yes. Oh, okay. And then because as you mentioned, I think one of the things I love about Athena in the first volume was, and like you said, how she spread herself thin was basically it's in her nature, and also it was the profession that she chose was she was a social worker. And if I remember correctly, I think you got to correct me if I'm this, but if I remember correctly, I think she worked as like a social worker, either like in a homeless shelter or a clinic
Yes.
in like a downtown area of New York or something to help people. And
Yes.
yes, and then also too, I love, and I have to listen to our previous interview, but I love how you and Amy brought a little bit of the Chinese experience. You guys weaved into the story about the Chinese American experience, life in the 90s. I know Athena had a romantic relationship and also too, the thing I love about was her strong ties with family, because she had uh, a great grandfather, no, a grandfather, Popo.
Hmm.
Yes. So you know, I just thought that was great. I love it. Um,
Thank you.
yes, you know, that's what I love. And I'm going to ask you for the first volume, um, when you were when you did conventions in the, ever since the book came out, what were some of the fan reactions to the story?
I mean, I gotta say, we got a lot of love for it. A lot of people
Mm,
have shown support, and
mm-hmm,
you know, I've had people bringing books up to me to sign, and it's always like unexpected. I mean,
mm-hmm,
you know, I love the book, but it's always a little unexpected when people already come to you without, you having to sell the book or anything like that,
yes.
and asking about how, like when the second volume is coming out and everything. And
Mm-hmm,
people have been so kind, and every time I do bring books at shows, they sell out immediately, and
yes.
it's just been wonderful. I really am grateful,
Mm-hmm.
honestly.
I'm going to ask you, um, because like I mentioned that some of the story deals with Chinese folklore. I'm going to
Hmm.
ask you, like, what were some of the either Chinese American or Asian American fans' reaction to the story? Like, did they come up to you, go, here, can you sign the book? And then did they ever tell you, like, oh yeah, I remember my grandmother used to tell me, you know, um, scary bedtime stories from, either from China or Japan, or somewhere in
I'm sure Amy gets a lot of that, but
oh
for
yeah.
me, I think most of it is just like, oh my God, I love your work. It looks great, stuff
Hmm.
like that.
Yes. Okay.
Um, yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it's because like Amy's the writer on it, so they may relate a little bit more. But I
Hmm.
have had people tell me that it's the New York that they know, or it's
Oh,
like a lot of it is cultural references that they completely understand. I don't go too in depth with it. I think that Amy is more, lucky in that sense.
hmm.
But everyone has told me that it's very, relatable, and they find a lot of it, like it hits home,
Yes.
which I'm always like, oh, okay, good. I did good, I think.
because I because I'm trying to remember from our previous interview, and this is an off the cuff question, was I remember, because I correct me if I'm wrong, because I think the book was made during the pandemic, and I
Hmm.
think Amy was sending you pictures of, yeah, can we make sure that this is in the background, this is sort of around the time in the 90s, this where
Hmm.
like a certain, I think she wanted like maybe certain key, like Chinese restaurants in the background, and some of the
Yes.
neighborhoods at least to be. So yeah, so I
Yeah.
remember. So, but that's nice that they come up to you and go, okay, wow, yeah, this really does. Yeah, I remember this, and from growing up, in New York. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right, now, ladies and gentlemen, listeners, Carmilla, the First Vampire, won the Bram Stoker Award for Superior Achievement in Graphic Novel. And I told Sue earlier before we started, Sue, congratulations. Now, first off, when did you hear that you and Amy were nominated for this award?
Oh gosh, I think it was early in the year.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe like um it was still very cold outside. That's how
Okay.
early it was. So it must have been like somewhere between January to March,
Mm-hmm.
somewhere around then. Um, because we got nominated for that and a GLAAD award.
Okay,
And
yes.
yeah, and so I was like, oh, that's very cool. Like being nominated is good enough, right? Like that's very cool, very, grateful and everything. Yeah, that's when it was.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then now the the Bram Stoker Awards, it was just basically announced recently. I think it was like
Yes, Sunday,
this
I
past,
think.
yeah, like June 2nd of, yeah, just recently. So I'm gonna ask you, you know, um, where were you when you heard that you and Amy won this award?
Um, I was sleeping and Amy messaged me
Hmm.
and it was like I woke up in the like I woke up very I don't wake up very early, by the way. So I woke up just to like, look at my phone
Hmm.
and
Yes.
like I don't actually go on the phone, but it's just like I heard a buzzing and I
Yeah.
looked and I saw that she said, "Holy shit, we won an award." And I was like, I don't know what that means. It's
Yeah.
probably like an award for something small, like probably like a little thing, whatever.
Yes.
And I was like, okay, cool, cool. And I just went back to sleep. And then I
Uh-huh.
woke up hours later, and then I go into her messages and I read it and I click on what she posted. And I was like, oh my God, it's the actual Bram Stoker Award. I was like, whoa.
Uh-huh.
So it was completely unexpected.
That's so cool. I just think that's so cool. And
I should have woken up then and there, but I was like, it's fine.
then and then but now listeners, we have to say, because correct me because if I remember correctly, I think the Stoker Awards was on it was they did it on the West Coast, and Sue, you live on the
Yes.
East Coast, so there's at least a
Yeah.
3 hour difference. That's why.
Yeah, so I wasn't even up, I think, when they announced it. And then I went on Twitter and then I saw that my name has been tagged and I was like, "Oh my God, this is real."
Hmm. Oh my God, but that's so cool. That is
Thing.
so.
I'm really excited about it. Thank you so much.
No, you're welcome. Okay, so you've already talked a little bit about Carmilla, the Last Vampire Hunter. Now this comes out on July 10th. You've already talked about that. Basically, there's a little bit of a there's a time we'll see Athena. Um, there's like not a I don't want to say a time jump, but it's not gonna take place in the 90s, or is it a little bit
Not
after?
anymore.
Okay, all right. Um, I wanted to ask, like, is this an original story by Amy, or did she based off short? Because I know Carmilla is from basically like in literature. She's based in literature, but did Amy write it? Was this an original story, or did was there like other short stories done by the author,
I'm
involving
sorry. It's not
graphic?
when I say in the future, I mean like just a little bit, not too far. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh,
It's just a little bit in the future, um not too far ahead. I'm sorry. I apologize. I don't want to
oh
get
no,
anyone confused. It really isn't like something
no.
that's based in the future. There's some new characters for sure.
Yeah.
It's still based on number two, and
Mm-hmm.
it does follow through, but it really is becoming a little bit of a new adventure. And again, Carmilla's still there.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Um,
mm-hmm.
maybe in
Yes.
some form or way, but
Yes.
it is definitely a character that I really enjoyed creating.
Mm-hmm.
Help creating at least.
Mm-hmm. Okay, this is so cool. Now I'm gonna ask you the dumb question. Was
No
there
dumb questions.
no, no,
There's no
because
such thing.
I didn't know how to phrase this one because it sounded, but anyway, um was there a reason, because I know I think it's already said in this like in the solicits and stuff for this graphic novel, what was there a reason why Athena moved to San Francisco?
That's part of the adventure.
Oh,
See,
okay.
I don't want to spoil.
Okay.
I already spoiled way too much.
Okay, all
You have to
right.
read it.
All right, okay. Um, let's see. Um, Now when you and Amy did the first volume of Carmilla, the first vampire, did you have any idea you guys were going to do this a follow-up graphic novel?
Um, we weren't sure if we were. There's always the hope because the
Yeah.
story's not finished, and so we've always hoped that it would keep going. So,
Hmm.
it's that you hope for, not always set in stone,
Yeah.
obviously.
Hmm. Oh, okay. All right. And then who called you to say, hey, we're doing another story?
Oh, Karen did.
That's
I mean, I knew, yeah, I mean, they both told me, but Karen was like, "Hey, we're doing another one." I was like, "Okay, let's do it."
that's pretty cool. And then when you mentioned Karen, listeners, that's Karen Berger, um, the editor of Vertigo. Now she's working at Dark Horse, and her imprint is Berger Books, and the
Yes.
Carmilla series is part of the Berger Books imprint. So
Yes.
now, would you like to give? Now, we've already mentioned Karen. Do you want to give a shout out to anybody else in the rest of the creative team?
Yeah, Sal's Cipriano, he's a wonderful letterer. I
Mhm.
mean, it's like it's one of my favorite things in the book. It's so beautiful and he does such a good job. Like, I'm a
Yes.
fan of him and I'm so happy that we're still working together.
That's so cool. So I'm gonna ask you, gotta correct me on this. You did the colors in this in both volumes, right?
Yes,
Oh, it's nice. Because
thank you.
I still remember from the first volume. Yes, it's really nice. Um, all right. What was the most fun or exciting thing that you love working on this second book?
Um, there's a lot more cultural references. See, I don't want to
No, no,
spoil anything, but
no.
there's a lot more cultural references that I have a lot of fun drawing.
Okay. Okay, that's gonna be nice. All right. All right. So we're gonna move on to ThunderCats Cheetara. Now, now this is basically for this one, you're just writing the miniseries, is that correct?
I'm writing and drawing the covers for them.
Okay, all right. Now, I know you can't give too much information, but can you just give a general idea? What is the story about?
It's before Thundercats happens,
Hmm.
before the original cartoon series, I
Hmm.
mean. It's a prelude and it's about Chitara's life and her hidden powers and the relationship she has with the people in
Hmm.
Thundercats, and kind of my take on how things came to be.
Hmm. Okay. All right. And then how did you team up with Dynamite Comics for this series?
Well, I worked with my editor on Maleficent and a few other things, Nate. And he just called me up and was like, "Hey, do you want to write a book? Do you want to write a story?" And I was like, sure."
That's so cool. That is so cool. Off the cuff question, because I know in the Freak Sugar article, because now correct me if I'm wrong, you grew up watching Thundercats, correct?
Well, I didn't grow up watching Thundercats. I did watch Thundercats when I was a kid, sure. And then
Hmm.
there's like a gap in the time, and then what they replayed it on Cartoon Network or something, and that's when I caught back up on it again.
Hmm.
But yes, it is something that I actually have watched when I was a kid, for sure. It was
Okay.
definitely on TV. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm, you know, I'm just asking the off the cuff question, like, did you before you did this series, did you rewatch the series again just to get an idea where you want how you wanted your story to have an idea for your story, you know?
Yes, I actually did rewatch the cartoons. I made sure um, as much of it is not accurate, but close to the original as
No.
possible.
Oh yeah.
A lot of references, a lot of source materials. I talked to Declan a little bit about how
Yeah.
he's writing Thundercats and stuff, just to keep things, cohesive as possible.
Yes. Hmm. Okay. All right. And then how did you team up with your artist Dominic?
Dominico,
Yes.
Dominico.
Okay. Yes, yes.
No worries. No, they just already had him. And then they showed me his design for Chitara, and I was like, boom, let's do it. I don't even no ifs, ands, or buts. Let's do it. He's amazing. He's so good. I saw the first issue, and it's fantastic looking.
Oh, that's gonna be nice. All
It's
right.
so pretty.
That is so cool. Off the cuff question, what was for the this ThunderCat miniseries, what was the most fun or exciting thing that you love working on this sequel or this miniseries, the ThunderCats miniseries?
That I get to kind of do whatever I want with her, that I get to do what I want with them because it's a story that isn't happening currently,
Yeah.
right? It's also kind of like we don't really know. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking that and running with it, and I get to make Cheetah whoever I want her to be,
Yes.
within terms of who she already is. But
Yes.
it really is a lot of fun, honestly. And then seeing Dominico draw her as well, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can picture her in my head now when
Mm-hmm.
I'm writing her.
So cool. How cool is it, off the cuff question, how cool is it to see, um, because I know you already saw some of his artwork, but like, how cool is it to see that you write the story out and then you see the pages coming into you? You know, is it pretty cool to see that? Like, oh my God, I wrote this, but he just elevated a little bit more.
Oh, for sure. Like I gave him as much, freedom to do whatever he wants with the page. I mean, guidance, this
Oh yeah.
has to match the story, but everything otherwise, I've been like, make it look as good as you want, make it look however you want. He's the artist, right?
Yes.
I'm not
Mm-hmm.
going to dictate to him how it should look. Only
Mm-hmm.
certain things,
Yeah.
obviously, right?
Yes.
Continuity and stuff, but yeah, he's the professional, so I'm going to let him do it. And
Mm-hmm.
it reads well and it's beautiful, and I have no complaints. It's Yeah, he's great. And I, give him as much notes as possible when I'm writing the script and make sure he's following along with it. And
Mm-hmm.
that hope everything is easy.
Oh, that is so cool. All right. From comics, we're going to move over to your podcast. You have a podcast, Spill Your Guts podcast. Now, this podcast, correct me if I'm wrong, started in 2022 during the pandemic. As of as of now, if I got this correct, you know there are 36 episodes. Now, for new listeners, who is your co-host and what is your podcast about?
My co-host is Sweeney Boo, also my real life best friend.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about mental health. We just talk about, mental health. It's like to work as a freelancer,
Mm-hmm.
not even just in comics. We have lots of guests who talk about specific topics that they want to like introduce themselves about or complain about, and hopefully get the fans and other, creators to relate that you're not the only one going through this, or
Mm-hmm.
um, you may not understand it, but hopefully we can give you perspective on it. So
Yeah.
it's a whole gamut of like mental health, being very transparent with feelings and
Mm-hmm.
tough times, because it's not all like rainbows and sunshine and
Mm-hmm.
easy to draw or write stories, right?
Yes.
And we go into like a lot of the hardships and are very like kind of blunt about things.
Mm-hmm. No, but yes. Now, listeners, I have listened to some of the episodes in the past. Sue, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm sorry. I haven't kept up with any of the recent
That's
ones.
okay.
But some of your recent guests, I think within the no, correct me if I'm wrong. I think within the last month. I know Agnes Jabrowski. I hope I'm pronouncing her last name correctly.
Grabowska?
Oh, yes. And then, of course, Jason Lowe, the
Yes.
artist and writer. And he's going to be doing, I think, a new It's either a miniseries, but I know he's going to be doing another Dazzler series for Marvel soon. I think probably in either summer or fall. But yes.
Hmm.
And then listeners, when Sue mentioned Sweeney Boo, Sweeney Boo is the current artist on Harlequin. She's been doing
Yes.
it for I think about a little more than a year. I think almost
Yep.
2 years. Yes. So yeah. Now, when do you guys have new episodes come out?
It's every month, but it's honestly, not something we stress about. Sometimes we
Hmm.
won't bring out an episode if we just didn't have time to record.
Yes.
It's pretty sporadic, but it's
Hmm.
mostly on Mondays, once a month or so.
Hmm.
It's honestly whenever we have time to do it.
Okay. All right. And then, um, do you have any future guests lined up in the next coming months?
Um, Not really. I think we are going to take a little bit of a break because we're
Mhm.
both so very busy. I mean,
Yes.
very blessed, knock on wood, right?
Yes. No,
But
yes.
for now, it's just it'll just the next episode will just be the two of us, and then we'll go on a little bit of a break.
Hmm. So, um,
But there's plenty of episodes if you haven't caught up, you know?
that's true. No, that's true. Yes, that's true. Um, and then, actually, oh, off the cuff question. What is one guest that you guys really want to come on the show that you're kind of going, oh man, I don't know. We have to go through their PR person or,
Yeah, you know what? I know this is corny, but I would like to have an actor come on
yeah,
because it's freelancing, right? And also, actors know a little bit about the comic world because they go to conventions, do
yes,
signings, they're like to
mhm,
having fans and the
yes,
nerds and all that stuff, right? So I think it would be really cool to have an actor give a little bit of, I mean, they already all are on like very cool podcasts to talk
yes,
about themselves, but
mhm,
like I would like to know what they think about conventions
yes,
as like a visitor and like us who that's our life, right? So I
yeah,
would like to know how they feel and what they feel like. And there's some like actors who write comics too. So,
yes, mhm,
in the future, that would be like a cool goal to have.
mhm.
I mean, I don't have any connections, so I
No,
don't know yet, but if I could, I think that would be really fun.
all right, I'm going to put you on the spot. Which actor do you want?
Oh gosh.
Well,
Well,
like you
there's
said,
this one
yeah,
there's someone that I'm working with. I don't want to say
no,
anything yet,
no.
but but anyways, he would be very fun to have on. He's very nice and very cool. I don't know though, like definitely someone in like the comic circuit, right? The ones
Okay,
who go to the conventions a lot.
yes,
Um, I'm blanking on the names. I don't know
that's
why.
it's fine. I mean,
I
like I
I can
said,
see I can see their faces in my head clearly, but I'm like, oh my God, why am I blanking on their names?
it's all right.
Oh, like okay, like Elijah Wood, for instance, right? Like
Oh, yes.
he makes his own movies now. He's like goes to conventions a lot. He seems very
Yes.
cool. I would love to know, like what he feels like the comic fans are like and what that life is like as an actor versus
Yes.
us. So
Oh,
people
yeah.
like that. And also like, just very cool people probably is like just you would never be able to talk to them, right? Like
Yeah. No,
you
yeah. Okay, now, Sue, you gotta, because I'm kind of blanking too. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, because Elijah Woods, we're talking from Lord of the Rings, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Because I know him, um, Sean
Sean
Astin,
Astin, yep.
there's a, but they kind of like, like, there's all four of the
The
Hobbits. I mean,
Hobbit crew, yes.
yeah, they do they do their little convention circuits at certain conventions. That they're
Yes.
all four of them, and that's so cool that they do that.
I love that. Yeah, I that's why I'm like, oh man, like
Y-
they're really cool and it would be so fun to talk to them, but I don't think that's gonna happen.
I, who knows? Okay, all right.
True.
Now now your next convention appearance, and I'm gonna say congratulations on going to San Diego Comic Con. The only reason why I say that is because I remember in one of your past podcasts, you're kind of going. I remember you and Sweeney were talking about conventions, and of course, the ones closer to in your, in around your area, New York and I think Chicago and stuff. And then I remember you kind of said, yeah, unless I think you mentioned something like, you know, um, unless you're invited to San Diego Comic Con, because it'll be hard for you to, and not just you, but for creators just to try to go out to San Diego, because I'm sure the cost of, trying to like hotel rooms, flights, and everything.
Yeah.
Um,
It's an expensive trip. Don't get me wrong.
no,
There is nothing. There's no congratulations. I'm just throwing money away. That's pretty
No,
much what I'm doing next month.
no, but it's kind of like, but it's almost like a once in a lifetime thing, you know.
I mean, hopefully it's not, right? Because it's a convention. Hopefully I'll be able to do it again. But
That's true.
you know,
Yeah.
I did go through some stuff, and I've been like in a very like grieving place. So I figured, you know what, I'm gonna treat myself and travel as
Yes.
much as I can and do something for myself. Why
Yeah.
not? You
Yeah. So, but yes, now, you know, I'm just gonna ask, so, were you invited to go to San Diego? Was it with,
know? No, no,
okay.
not at all.
Okay, I wasn't,
Oh,
because
not at all. I do have panels. I was asked to be on some panels, but no, I was not invited. No, I'm
okay.
not. No, no, no. I'm not that, I don't have that. I don't have any pull at all.
Okay.
This is something I had to pay for like completely on my
Okay,
own.
all right. No, I'm going to say, because I know, like, the smaller conventions that we have here in Hawaii, it's like,
hmm
it's, the guests are invited, but like I said, I don't like, San Diego is a whole different monster.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
what it is.
they're very particular about the invite and such. So,
Yeah.
I don't take that as I don't take it personally or anything like
Mm.
that.
All right. Okay. So besides San Diego, what other conventions, or if you have any store appearances that should be um in the upcoming months, anything scheduled for in the upcoming months?
Yes, I'll be at San Diego, then I will be at WickedCon in Boston, and I'm going to be at Boise Comics Art Festival. It's a little town in Boise, Idaho, and they
Hmm.
do a comic convention in a library. So I thought, hey, cool, I love libraries. I support them. I think
Yes.
everyone should support libraries. So I
Yes.
was like, you know what? Why not, right? And then hopefully New York Comic Con.
That's so cool. All right. Last question. Any closing words to our listeners?
If you've already been a fan and if you've already checked out my work, I am eternally grateful. Like, I wouldn't have won an award without any support. I wouldn't have, been able to do all these projects and have, people put my name on stuff if there was no support. So really, like, thank you from the bottom of my heart, and please keep supporting me so I
Yes.
could keep paying for conventions myself. Thank you so much.
All right. Sue, mahalo. Thank you for giving me another opportunity to interview you. And thank you for making comics.
Oh, thank you for
Just
reading.
thank you very much. And I wish you all the success. It's just going to be a great summer for you. I wish you all the
Oh boy, I
success.
hope so.
Yes, I wish you all the success with Carmilla, the Last Vampire Hunter. Um, ThunderCats, the Cheetara mini, Cheetara. God, man, I hope I keep pronouncing that name correctly. Cheetara, the
We'll get
miniseries,
there.
and you know, and have fun at San Diego Comic Con. Oh my
Thank
God,
you.
please, dude.
I plan on it.
All right. Now, if you are a new comic book reader or a lifelong comic book reader who loves horror and or just loves Thundercats, please check out Carmilla, the Last Vampire Hunter from Dark Horse Comics. This graphic novel comes out on July 10th. Now, ThunderCats Cheetara #1 comes out from Dynamite Comics, comes out on July 3rd. And also, too, if you are attending a San Diego Comic Con this year, between July 25th and July 28th, please, if you see Sue, please stop by, tell her, say hi. Oh, what, Sue, I forgot to ask you, are you going to be at, like,
Sure.
are you going to be at, like, the Dark Horse booth or the Dynamite Comic? You know,
I'm uncertain about that right now, but I do plan on signing, and I will be at the panels for sure.
okay.
But I think it's still like it's only a month away, but I do know that a month will fly by. So right now I don't know anything solid. I just
Mhm.
know that there are things happening, and I will keep everyone up to date on my social media.
Okay, no, thank you very much. I also want to thank Drew, the host of Comics for Fun and Profit, for putting this episode together. Drew, thank you very much for all your hard work behind the scenes. And if you are a new listener, please check out new episodes of Comics for Fun and Profit that comes out every Saturday. And I want to thank you, the listeners. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for listening to this episode. Until next time, guys. Aloha.
Thank you.
You like cheap comic books, right? Well, I'm Professor Allen, and I talk about cheap comic books on the Quarterbin podcast. In every episode, I'll dissect a single comic from my collection, as long as I paid no more than 25 cents for the issue. Forget about $4 new comics that you can read in 4 minutes, or crossover events that can cost $100 to collect. Join me in the Quarterbin, where even bad comics are a bargain, and good ones are a steal. The Quarterbin podcast is part of the Relatively Geeky Podcast Network. Visit us at relativelygeekypodcast.blogspot.com or search Relatively Geeky or Quarterbin Podcast in iTunes. I guarantee it'll be worth every penny.